Greetings. Where's my book? Oh no. Where? Oh. It's right here. Okay, well. Greetings. So, today's story is about a time when Siri joined a young gang of criminals in 𝓘𝓭 that was known for stealing from the rich to satisfy their own material needs. The group consisted of 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰, Reef, Iskra, Gazelle, Asa, and Missile. The group's name? The Rats. Now, you might be wondering, how did they get that name? Well, once they became a gang, someone said, "Oh, you dirty rats!" And they liked it, so they kept it. Pretty simple. Why am I talking about the rats? Well, I have 3 pretty decent reasons. The first one, while Geralt was searching for her with his companions in my mini-series, he was searching through Nilfgaard and, everywhere for her. But at one point she was with the rats. And I believe him and 𝓘𝓭 both had a dream about her. So, yeah, about her being with the rats, I mean. Yeah, okay. 2, Siri had her first human kill. This is pretty significant, right? I think she had some monster kills before. Maybe like a baby basilisk or something. I'll have to look at that later. So this is a pretty big deal for her. She's never really killed anyone, and I think later on she almost enjoyed it. Maybe she almost enjoyed just the chaos of it and the rebellion and the crazy. Who knows? The third reason is, I think she discovered love and lust, or got to distinguish between both of them. I won't go in that today. You can read the books. Did you read the books? I hope so. This is pretty big spoilers for the books. So, you should read the books. Okay, I'm gonna get to the story now. So the rats were different, as they thrived while other gangs were wiped out. Why? Because they didn't kill only for the goods, they killed for entertainment, and thus handed the wealth to the poor citizens in that area. This made it harder for the troops to track them, as the citizens would give false information about their whereabouts, and even shelter them. The Nilfgaardian prefects then tried to offer generous rewards on the rats, but many informers had their homes set on fire and were killed by the rats when they tried to escape the burning building. The prefects tried to plant moles in their group, but they were careful and despised outsiders, refusing to accept anyone else. However, this changed one day in 1267. Here is when our young Siri joined into the story. She had just arrived after her ordeal crossing the 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰 desert, and then captured by a group of slavers called trappers. Meanwhile, one of the members of the rats, 𝓘𝓷, had been captured by another gang, the 𝓘𝓫, to be turned in for the reward. When both groups met at an inn in 𝓘𝓮, Siri was placed next to 𝓘𝓷. He whispered to her, asking if he would help him escape, but she was afraid and refused. She overheard the 𝓘𝓫 group threatening to rape her, and thus, using a knife from the food given to her by the innkeeper, she secretly sawed at 𝓘𝓷's binds just as the other rats attacked the inn. Impressed with Siri's sword skills and As she helped 𝓘𝓷𝓼, the rats let her escape with them back to one of their hideouts for the night. The group decided to welcome 𝓘𝓷𝓼 into their group and lavished her with gifts and asked for her name. 𝓘𝓏 noted her arrogant attitude during their first conversation and called her a falcon. So 𝓘𝓷𝓼 decided on the elder word 𝓑𝓾𝓂, I think, probably wrong, meaning falcon or 𝓑𝓾𝓂. She also heard the name during her time in the desert when she was having a pyromantic vision. Now that we know how 𝓘𝓷𝓼 or 𝓑𝓾𝓂 met the group, let's talk about who the members are. 𝓘𝓷𝓼. He was the adopted son of the castellan in Ebbing. His adopted family were massacred by the Nilfgaardian army by order of Emir von Emrys in order to suppress an uprising in Ebbing. He woke up in the burning castle among the bodies of his adopted parents. He then found Ræf, a Nilfgaardian soldier who was left behind because of his injuries. Instead of finishing him off, however, 𝓘𝓷𝓼 helped and healed him. They set out together to spread some mayhem of their own. Here's his description. He was slender, with long blonde hair reaching his shoulders. His face was angular, his eyes a mad green, and his mouth was usually twisted into a nasty grimace. Ræf. He was from Lower Alba and served in the Nilfgaardian Imperial Army until he was injured and abandoned by his mates during a siege. In the castle, 𝓘𝓷𝓼 helped and healed his injuries. The two started a new life, robbing rich men and enjoying their wealth. Here's his description. He was a fair-haired Nilfgaardian. He spoke with a distinct accent. He often took fishtech. 𝓬. Her real name is 𝓑𝓏𝓬𝓪𝓯, or Firechild in Elder Speech, but sometimes goes by Spark. For unknown reasons, she was banished by the rest of the free elves, essentially a death sentence if she didn't find others to help her survive. Luckily for her, she found 𝓘𝓚 in the Elven Woods, having been pinned to a tree by an arrow. She ended up helping him out, and the two joined forces and later became lovers. Here's her description. She was an elf with dark, luxurious hair and huge, bright, almond-shaped eyes. She liked to adorn herself with jewelry. She was known for her very colorful outfits and was seen as a fashion icon among the children and youth in the villages they graced. 𝓘𝓚. His story started when he got incredibly drunk and got drafted into an unknown army. He couldn't remember which one, but he sobered up after a thrashing by commanders. Later in the books, he mentions that it may have been the Lord of Jesso's army, but it's never confirmed. He deserted and ran off into the woods. Soon, he formed a gang with other deserters and fugitives in the area. They started ransacking and burning villages to the ground, and even ambushing a Nilfgaardian army. One day, the group mistakenly wandered too close to a group of elves in the forest. They were rained down by lethal arrows. Many of his companions were killed, but he was pinned to a tree and survived. The next morning, 𝓬 found and freed him. They became traveling companions soon after. Here's his description. He was the grim, black-haired, and lanky ringleader. He's most likely the eldest member, but we don't know how old 𝓬 is. I'm pretty sure elves age pretty slowly, like witchers and sorceresses. But for now, we're going to say he's the eldest. Okay. 𝓬. He was the son of a local blacksmith of 𝓘𝓮. When the pacifiers of 𝓘𝓬𝓪𝓯 invaded 𝓘𝓮 in order to suppress a rebellion, he was forced to hide behind some hemp plants, while his father, mother, and sisters were brutally murdered. He then followed the soldiers for 3 days, with the goal of avenging his family. Along the way, he saved Missel from some Nilfgaardian deserters. Here's his description. He's described to have a laughable beard and like to wear a studded black leather jacket. Kind of reminds me of someone. 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯. She came from a wealthy noble family in 𝓘𝓮 until she was forced to flee from the city because of the Germanian pacifiers' assault. During the panic, she got lost and separated from her family. After 3 days of wandering, she fell into the hands of the manhunters who were following the Nilfgaardians. While traveling with this group, the caravan was massacred by a group of Nilfgaardian marauders. All the men were killed, except for the girls. 𝓘𝓭 was the only one to survive. Asay discovered her in a ditch, where her captors had dumped the bodies. He had been following the same Nilfgaardian troop that slaughtered his family 3 days before. Here's her description. She was a tall girl with short, straw-colored hair. Later, she got a tattoo of a red rose with a green stem on her inner thigh near her groin. Siri chose to get the same one. Talking about tattoos, when the tattoo artist came to visit them, later in the books, Reef got a tattoo of a nude woman on his forearm. And 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰 got a green snake with an open mouth and red tongue tattooed on his wrist. So you may be wondering, how did they become a group? So far right now, it's 3 separate groups of 2 each, right? Well, they all met one day at the celebrations of Lammas, the festival of the harvest, in one of the villages in 𝓘𝓫. They were all drawn to one another in a merry crowd. They had too much in common. They were untied by their love of gaudy, colorful, fanciful outfits, stolen trinkets, beautiful horses, and swords. So they were kind of drawn together, kind of like a magnet. Like many stories, this one doesn't end well. During their travels, the rats attacked a convoy of Baron of Cassaday's carriage, in which his daughter was riding. 𝓑𝓾𝓂 took the girl's brooch, which belonged to her mother. His daughter, traumatized by these events, caused the Baron to hire 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯, a well-known bounty hunter, to hunt down the rats and to bring 𝓑𝓾𝓂 back alive. However, 𝓑𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 was already hired by 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯, who wanted her to be killed so that the monarchy couldn't be overthrown. A local acquaintance, 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰, approached them later and told them about 𝓑𝓑𝓬𝓬𝓪𝓯 being on their trail and currently in a small village of jealousy. The rats, being overconfident in their abilities, decided to deal with 𝓑𝓑𝓬𝓬𝓪𝓯 directly. 𝓑𝓾𝓂 overheard the news about Emperor Emir von Emrys planning on marrying Cyrilla of Cintra. 𝓑𝓾𝓂, who is the real Cyrilla, was suddenly overcome with extreme desire to get back to Cintra and reclaim her throne. And so, before dawn, she left the rats to catch up with 𝓘𝓷𝓼𝓽𝓪𝓰 to learn how to get to Cintra. The rest of the gang raced off to Jealousy to confront 𝓑𝓑𝓬𝓬𝓪𝓯. They quickly learned, though, they'd vastly overestimated themselves, and 𝓑𝓑𝓬𝓬𝓪𝓯 easily killed them. He proceeded to chop their heads off and preserve them in honey to turn it into the bounty. The one exception was 𝓑𝓾𝓂, who learned about the trap and raced to Jealousy to help, but was too late. She arrived in time to watch 𝓘𝓼 get slain. Siri was caught by the bounty hunter. He neither killed her nor brought her to the Baron, therefore fulfilling either contracts. The decapitated bodies of the rest of the rats were buried in Jealousy. So I will for sure talk about 𝓘𝓮𝓬𝓪𝓯 and the very wicked adventure him and Siri had in another video. Don't worry. So that concludes the tale of the rats, a gang of misfits that came together to enjoy life to its fullest to the end. That's pretty bad. So if there is another story or event you want me to cover, put it down in the comments below and I'll do my best to make it happen. With that said, good luck on the path. Do I need glasses? Oh, it's here. Okay. He was searching for her.
I messed all that up. I said...
She got to extinguish... Extinguish? It's in the books. You did read the books, right? Okay. Just making sure. Okay. Read the books. That's your homework. Read the books. Okay.
Right now I'm gonna read the story.
Here is when our young secretly sawed at Kaylee's bends. That was going so well. She has just survived another ordeal. God. She had just arrived at her okay, and his mouth was usually twisted into a nasty grimace. Grimace. Is that a grimace? Or foul child in elder speech. I messed that up. I'll just keep twirling my hair, so it doesn't poke out everywhere. Okay. I said what? Why did you ding?
Oh, the battery. I didn't turn it on.
Who they met another one, right? Two. What am I doing? This one doesn't end well. I whip my hair back and forth. Caused the Baron to hire their vastly overestimated themselves. And Bonnie, that's his cute name. It's cute name. Bonnie now. Okay. To turn it into the bounty. Turn it into the bounty? Turn it in for the bounty. One more time. But you can read it in the books. You did read the books, right? Okay. Well, let's get to the books. Is that good? I'm gonna say this.